what I'd like to do is explore some ways of making that a little bit more powerful, if we could, right? Really, one of the main things we're doing here, we've been taking their attention, we're moving it through the senses, haven't we? Right? You know, if we use the beach, for example, because that's what we started off with. In the beach, we've got temperature of the air, we've got the sight of the ocean waves, we've got the sound of the ocean waves. Perhaps we have some birds flying around, maybe some seagulls. Who knows? If there were some seagulls there, perhaps they would make some sounds, like cries that they do, right? Incidentally, notice what's happening right now inside your minds. Who here is kind of experiencing a little seagull swirling around somewhere in the back of their mind, right? You see how subtle it can be? And I'm just talking in theoretical terms, hypothetical terms, which are very difficult to resist, right? Does that make sense? So here's what we start playing with, the language of attention. Where attention goes, energy flows, is the basic principle here. Where attention goes, energy flows. If you can move their attention onto something, it becomes real for them. If I can move your attention to the possibility of a seagull, it becomes more real. Just the possibility that you might consider a seagull somewhere floating over some beach. Perhaps that seagull becomes more real when you consider its wingspan opening up, so it floats in the breeze. And you can consider that seagull in comparison to any other seagull you've seen in your life. And notice its graceful movements. Notice what just happened there. How much more vivid or real did that seagull become inside your mind, just in that short little segment? Anyone? Did it increase or decrease the, should we say, reality tone of that idea, the seagull? Increase, right? Why? Do you notice how I'm cycling through the tension and focusing it back on the seagull in different ways over and over again? And so each time, a little bit more energy goes into this mental seagull, so it becomes a little bit more real. See how that works? So how can we grab people's attention? What kind of language gets their attention? What kind of language moves direction? Notice, right? If I tell you to notice a seagull, or perhaps you can notice a seagull, if you want to hedge my bets a little bit, notice directs your mind, doesn't it? What other words direct your mind? Imagine. That's a sneaky one. I like that one. Compare. Consider. Realize. That's a good one too. British spelling. Think. Thank you very much. Now we're going through the senses. See and experience. Right? Taste, of course. And we have smell as well.
Remember.
Thank you. That's an excellent one that very few people actually come up with. Remember, recall. Remember some seagull that you've seen in the past. Where does that stay in your mind? Right? Remember that seagull and then compare it to the one that we might be seeing on this beach. Aside from whatever this seagull might be on this beach, consider the possibility that it's floating on the air, on the breeze. And just think about what that would look like. Could you hear it crying? As you think about that seagull, can you just realize that it's got a wide wingspan? And notice how calmly it floats. Do you see how it just starts cycling through the same experiences and it begins adding more and more layers of reality onto it each time? Would it be fair to say that you get a sense of that? Yes? Sorry, let me just turn this around a little bit so you can see. So notice, consider, realize, think, feel, and see. Really, these words are not the important things, they're just what we came up with here. What matters is the principle. These are all words that direct attention from one place to another. Make sense? Right? So I'd like to experiment a little bit with attention and language. Let's not stick it into this induction just yet. The thing we want to do is just go and find a partner, a different partner, and just spend a minute or two moving the direction around, right? You can use these things nakedly, blankly, like notice, the sound in the room, feel the backs to your chest, so those are actual experiences they're having right now. You can also add your language softeners for more extreme experiences, right? Just perhaps you can remember another time that you sat in a room, right? Maybe you might begin to smell or remember the smell or the taste of a favorite meal. Do you see where we're going with this? All I want you to do is cycle through their experience in terms of something they absolutely have to agree to or will agree to in the softened form. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't matter where it goes. You can do sensations, things they feel, here in the room, see here in the room, hear here in the room, even smell in this room. Good. You can take a walk through their recollections, their memory, their thoughts. You can take I mean, how might you do this? How will you turn attention to their thoughts? Right? Interesting idea, isn't it? You can consider that idea for a while, can you not? Perhaps you can think about something that's important to you. I know, maybe that's something like the way people should be treated or should treat you. Most people think that it's important to treat someone else well. I think you're that kind of person. And of course, whilst you're doing this, watch the other person. See if they're agreeing with you, right? If you say most people, think that other people should be treated with respect, and they go, oh, they have a little scan, like, oh, maybe this person doesn't think that, right? Maybe some people deserve it and some people don't. Who knows? Just observe, and you're looking for a mental yes constantly as you're cycling through these things. The easiest thing to cycle through is the physical experience, see, hear, feel, right now in the room. Then you have memories and recollections. You have universal experiences, things that memories. How many people here had a bike when they were young or had been on a bike at least once in their life, right? How many people here learned to drive a car, right? How many people here went to school? How many people here made a friend when they were young? How many people here lost a friend when they were young, right? How many people here had an argument with a friend that they then made up later? Some of you never had an argument with a friend that you made up again? Let's try that again. How many people here had an argument with a friend and made up later? I'm just making sure about this. So these are pretty universal human experiences, aren't they? So they belong in our list. We're moving their attention to something and they'll agree to it. Does that make sense? So the canned version of this is where people talk about, you're sitting in the chair and you're breathing and you're feeling the sensations of this and you're hearing my voice. All very well and good. Not very conversational though, is it? Right? We're sitting on a bus and your shoes are untied and one of your socks is rolled down. I mean, at this point, you'd be forgiving the person for thinking that you're a little bit autistic, right? Because you're just listing facts that are kind of apparent to everyone. So it's not a very conversational thing that you can do, right? If you make it conversational, it's okay to include some things that are in the current environment, shall we say, but you want to go beyond that to mental experiences, to things they'll agree with in terms of this is how the world is, how the world works, recollections, universal experiences, and that sort of stuff. Do you get where I'm coming with this? I'd like you to get really creative with this, really have fun with this. Your intention is not to create a trance, although if you want to get into the whole H+ thing, by all means experiment to see if you can put them into a trance just by having a lot of H+ and talking about experiences that they have to agree with. Just see what happens, right? But that's not the purpose. The purpose is just that you're using the language of attention to navigate their attention through their experiences, and just notice that you can do that and how rich a variety of experiences are available to you. Does that make sense? Go ahead, quick question.
Not really, but you were asking...
If it's not a quick question, do you mind coming up here so that we can all hear properly? Otherwise, I just have to repeat it for everyone. Just come on the front, that's fine.
So as we use this attentional language,
yes,
and the exercise is to first engage their senses in about things that are in the room, and then we can expand beyond that and talk about these universal experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought there was a third category that you thought we could touch on to.
There are many different categories, and I invite you to find them all.
Okay.
And then you can tell me afterwards what it is that I missed.
Well, there's something to be said for improvisational jazz.
I agree with you. I think that's a great metaphor.
Okay.
I'd stick to that one.
All right.
Or not. Okay, guys, you ready for the exercise? Are you ready for the exercise?
Yes.
Just spend 3 or so minutes apiece, one way, just roll with it, and you should find that at some point it might get a little bit awkward, and it comes a point where it just clicks, and it's just impossible to not have something to say. See if you can find that point. Off you go. The exercise go well, it seems, like in terms of you guys responding, seems like a bit of animation. Interesting stuff, right? Do you notice how after a while you have like an infinite variety of responses? And the reason why people sometimes think like, I don't know what to say, really I think it has to do more with that there's so much choice you don't know where to begin. Not really what to do because there's not enough choice. Would that be accurate in terms of your experience? Yeah? Now, I'd like to turn this into something a little bit practical. I should turn these things off, actually, so they don't interfere. I'd like to turn this into something practical so we can finish up on something a little bit more practical at the end of the day. You'll be familiar with this in different guises. Some of you will have come across this as the concept of a piggyback suggestion or a piggyback induction.